is Riding with Ree, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how I attach my GoPro to my riding helmet to create the GoPro footage that I do for my jumping and my hacking. I'm going to be showing you how to create footage that looks like this and this instead of footage that looks like this.
Nice little walk.
Or this. I'm going to be showing you how I actually put my GoPro on my helmet, and then I'm going to be taking you through a few of the accessories I've actually bought which makes the experience better. Before we jump into this video, if you enjoyed today's video and you find it useful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and of course do subscribe. Here on Riding with Ree, I actually share my experience of sharing my first horse, as well as being a little bit of a tech geek. I do share some reviews around the tech equestrian space, so do subscribe if you're into that kind of stuff. Alright, so the GoPro that I use is the Hero 7 Black. This is the one I chose off GoPro's website. At the time, it was at the top end of GoPro's models, but it wasn't the most expensive model. I wasn't sure a few months ago whether I'd use the GoPro a lot, and I didn't want to drop a whole load of money on it without knowing whether I'd use it all the time. So I opted for the 7, which felt like towards the top end, but not super expensive. So when I actually bought my GoPro, it came in a bundle, and what that bundle included was a head strap, so this, the GoPro, and a spare battery. So I have only ever used a head mount, which is what you can see on my helmet here. I've never tried a chest strap, although I know that some people use them. So this is going to be about using the GoPro Hero 7 Black on a head strap. So firstly, with your head strap, you'll see that you have this sort of little ringed end. Can you see that? That's where your GoPro is actually going to sit. So if you pull this over your helmet, it helps if you have a suede helmet or a kind of cover that has a bit of grip. I have used this helmet for jumping, for galloping, and my GoPro's never come off. But what has happened is sometimes the strap will slip. I'll show you that bar there. It will sometimes slip off here and I have to put it back on. So you do have to be careful of that. I would just check it every time you ride. Sometimes I find these straps can be a little bit small. So for me personally, I've made this almost as big as it can go, because my helmet is, what size is my helmet? It's actually a 7.5, so it's not a huge helmet. But what you're going to do is just take the two sides where your little rings are, hold those, and then pull them to the front of your helmet. Take the other two sides and pull them back to the back of your helmet, so that your little GoPro bar, the little square with GoPro, is sitting at the back of your helmet. Try and make sure that that is secure. Pull it down as much as you can on either side of the helmet, and make sure these rings are down at the front as well. It doesn't have to be right at the bottom like mine sits there, because you can adjust the angle of the GoPro, which I'll show you in a minute, but that is how you get the strap on. And there's actually some rubber that's going to help keep that in place. It's quite difficult to move, you'll see, so pretty simple. Then what you're going to do is you're going to need to take your GoPro and put it in its case. So let me come a little bit closer and show you how to do this. So your case looks like this, and it has these little rings at the bottom. That is the bottom of your case. And then you'll see that it has this sort of case at the back that pulls down, and this piece at the top. That's the back of your case. So your GoPro is going to go in this way. So take your GoPro. You'll see as well that there's certain spaces for different buttons. So you should be able to line it up pretty easily. So I'm just going to slot my GoPro in there like this, and then close the back. Just like that. So you catch the end of it in the corner, just like this. So you take the top, it fastens to one side, sort of hooks under the edge of the case, and then you're going to clip it to close, and it will snap closed. Then what you're going to do, you should have this pin which came in the box with the GoPro. Don't lose it, because this is what attaches your GoPro to pretty much anything that you use. So you're going to take your GoPro with the 3 rings, and you're going to fix them to the 3 rings, slot them in with the 3 ring between the rings on your helmet like that. Okay, then what you're going to do is put the pin in that hole, which is going to secure those 2 sets of rings together. Once you have it in there, you're going to twist it to the right to secure it, and then your GoPro is fastened. The next piece is really, really important if you want to have great footage, and that is the angle that your GoPro actually sits at. So whether it's like this or whether it's like that. This is what's going to get you great footage or terrible footage. So when you first get on, what I would recommend doing is make sure you have the GoPro app downloaded, which I think you'll be prompted for when you actually set up the GoPro for the first time anyway. But make sure you have the app downloaded, and then when you get on the horse, open the app on your phone and just put your head as where your eye level would be when you're riding, and you'll get a little preview of what your GoPro can actually see, and this is going to let you know whether your angle is too high or too low. If you have your angle too low, all you're going to see is the horse's ears. So here's an example of me. I took a lovely cant around the straw field, but all you can really see is Ted's head and neck, and whilst that's fine, you're not seeing any of the view, you're not seeing where we're going, and it's not super interesting. Alternately, if you have it too high, you're going to miss the horse entirely, and all you're going to see is above and the sky and everything else, which is it's not great either. So what I would do is put your phone up to where your eye level will be when you're riding, and make sure that you see that your GoPro is at the right adjustment. So you'll be able to twist it forward. It's not so tight that you can't move it a little bit. Can you see that? So it should be easy to set up. So that is the very, very basic setup of GoPro. It's worth noting that the GoPro battery for the 7 Black lasts for about an hour, slightly less if you're putting the higher quality of video up there. And there are loads of settings within the GoPro itself that you can choose, which there are much more informative reviews on that, so I'm not going to go into that detail. But what I do want to touch on is your SIM card. This is probably the best advice I could give you. Is my GoPro came with this SanDisk 32 gig. It's probably not in focus, is it? I'll put a picture of it up on the screen. 32 gig SIM card, and I thought that this would be absolutely fine for what I needed. However, I was on a hack one day and I had the quality of video quite high. I think I had it at 1080, and just before I ended up falling off, my GoPro cut out. And when I got back from the hack, I was like, oh, I'm so excited to see this footage of me falling off, it'll be really fun. And then I had nothing. It had completely cut out, and I missed the fall completely, which is disappointing because everybody on YouTube knows that you really want to see the falling footage. And when I did some research online, what I realized was that a SIM card with a lower writing speed can't actually keep up with the rate at which the footage needs to be created, and therefore ends up cutting out. So after some research, I stayed with SanDisk because they're still really, really good cards, but instead I ended up getting one with a slightly higher percentage of memory, so 265 gig, but I got an A2, and I will drop a bit more information here. So this is the one I use now. I'll put a picture of it up because it's not focusing, but I use a SIM card with more memory, so I don't have to spend as much time downloading my footage, and I can leave it on the GoPro for longer before I have to move it over because there's more memory space, and it writes quicker. So if you are going to be using a GoPro at a higher level of memory, like 1080 or like 4K, then you're going to need a better SIM card. I would also recommend that you get a spare battery because the batteries only last for an hour, and actually it's even less if you're shooting in 4K. So you might need to swap your batteries over. The final thing I just want to touch on is when you get your GoPro, it may come with this, which is a adapter. It looks like this, and what this is used for is you put your SIM card in here, and then you can put it into a SIM card reader, which looks like this, and that will help you transform your files from your GoPro's disc to your laptop. So when I first started using my GoPro, I would download all of my footage onto my phone and then airdrop it from my phone to my laptop. That is a terrible, terrible idea. It takes forever. GoPro files are really large. They're like 4 gig per section. So if you have footage of like an hour's worth of riding, and your GoPro splits that up into 4 15-minute blocks, each of those is 4 gigabytes, which is like 12 gigabytes. Each of those is 3 gigabytes, which is like 12 gigabytes total. That takes ages to upload to your laptop. So having a disc reader is just going to make the whole process easier. It's much, much quicker to use one of these, so that is what they're for. I'd recommend getting one if you're planning on creating a lot of GoPro footage, and I would also recommend potentially getting hold of a hard drive, because your laptop is going to fill up really, really quickly if you decide to have a lot of GoPro footage on there. Either that, or you can go through all of your GoPro footage after you've ridden, pick out your favorites, and then just delete the rest so that you free up all of your memory space. That is how I set up my GoPro on my helmet. I'll give you a little montage here of all the footage I've captured recently with my GoPro, and I hope to see you next time. Thanks so much for being here. If you have any questions or comments, do leave those below. If this video has been useful, do give it a like like, and of course don't forget to subscribe. My next video is actually going to be a Q&A on sharing, part loaning. I've been crowdsourcing all of your questions on sharing horses, so if you are interested in that, do subscribe because that is coming up very soon. See you next time. Bye.
I don't wanna go back to who I used to be. So if you ever